Hi, I'm Rahi Tajzadeh. My journey has been one that's fraught with ups and downs, pivots and adjustments. My journey may be unique, but it is a perfect example of how flexibility and malleability are critical to becoming a successful consultant. Today, we will explore this dynamic journey. Being flexible, malleable, and adaptable was a norm for me. Having moved from Iran at a young age, living in Spain, England, Montreal, Ottawa, Etobicoke, and finally Richmond Hill, I had to be resilient to lead a normal life. Malleability was my norm. In my first year of university, I was struck with a medical condition that was 23 years in the making. It caused me to suffer from the worst pain imaginable, pancreatitis, which went on for nearly 8 months. But I endured, and despite a few surgeries, cancer, which I beat, and Crohn's disease, I finally completed my undergraduate degree. I spotted an opportunity in the solar energy industry, and I had to make a decision about my savings. Do I invest my $45,000 into my solar energy company, or invest in this new phenomenon called Bitcoin, which was about 1 to 10 cents at the time? Needless to say, I didn't make the right choice, and I lost out on a lot of money, but I moved on. And in the early 2010s, the Ontario government essentially killed the solar energy industry, leaving us startups to pick up the pieces and pivot. So I pivoted to consulting, and I already had about 4 years of experience consulting for companies in one form or another. It was comfortable for me to go into that field. I consulted for small and large companies for many years, quickly realizing that I didn't have all the tools I wanted to be more competitive, more competent, and more valuable to my clients. I needed more education, and a master's degree made sense. Since I already love science, I pursued a Master of Science in Management. In my first year of my master's, I underwent another surgery, this time to treat my Crohn's disease. Despite a successful surgery, not only did I have a wide open 25-centimeter wound for 4 months due to infection, but my Crohn's symptoms came back within 3 weeks. An interesting first semester, to say the least, but familiar. After receiving a full scholarship and completing my master's degree, I was lucky enough to be introduced to CMC, after which I joined and earned my designation. And I was honored to be asked to join CMC's GTA chapter as a board director or board member, and later as the chair of the Professional Development Committee. Now I had the tools that I was lacking. I had to get more clout. And to get that, I needed to leverage my CMC designation. And to do that, I needed to better understand what it is the designation means to customers and members. In brief, it's a seal of quality. It's a symbol of professionalism, ethics, and ability. In a saturated market in which everyone calls themselves a consultant, the CMC designation stands out. Standing out is exactly what the designation helped me to do, but there's more to CMC. There's community of like-minded but diverse and inclusive professionals, of professionals with high ethical standards, and a community that was slowly becoming, to me at least, like a family. The CMC GTA chapter became more important to me with every meeting. I had the privilege to give back to the community, the profession, and future generations of consultants. I met some of the most accomplished and awe-inspiring people, and I also had the opportunity to hone my skills as a professional presenter and consultant. I also had the privilege of utilizing my consulting skills in helping the next generation of business students. Thanks to the incredible work our GTA chapter is doing every year, one such example involves professional advisors and mentors that young entrepreneurs and business professionals desperately need. As the chair of the Professional Development Committee, I recognize the need for our members to have more opportunities to mentor and advise the next generation. I was able to leverage our organization's clout and reputation to convince an incubator in the Ryerson Innovation Hub to sponsor our events or our efforts to create a mentor-mentee matching program to do just that. The old method of matching mentors and mentees typically involves 3 major steps: assess the needs and the current state of the mentee, identify the ideal match from a roster of mentors, make the match. But this method is too rigid, too old-fashioned, and it's not of high value today. We built a new mentor-mentee assessment model to be more robust, separating critical components from their own categories, such as listening and understanding. We made the model more flexible, giving mentors the freedom to move back and forth between categories as necessary. Lastly, the model is more malleable, encouraging more focus on weak points. Our model also applies to the mentorship process itself, giving the mentor and the mentee the freedom to move between listen and execute as needed. A great mentorship program is one that creates a lasting legacy that is self-sustaining, with the mentees wanting to be future mentors, and benefits that go both ways. CMC has also given me the privilege of working with and mentoring the very students that will be future consultants. I have had the opportunity to learn from them at every step, and thanks to their input and insights, we've been able to develop a better model to add more value and better tailor mentorship in the future. So in conclusion, I want to say that CMC is more than a designation, more than a community, and more than a family. It is a standard of excellence in consulting with a focus on ethics, and by looking at their actions, a beacon of trust and guidance for future generations of consultants. I'm Rahi Tajzadeh, and I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rahi. First of all, if I could just say, typically a Pecha Kucha to me seems like a race to the finish, but the way that you presented was so measured and so well spoken and well thought out and well timed. That was beautiful.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
So if I could just ask you a couple questions, and actually, if anyone has any questions for Rahi, we can maybe come back to them later. But if you have questions right now, put them in the chat, and I'll see if there's any that we can ask Rahi in the little time that we have before breakout session. But maybe I can ask you a question first. So that model of mentorship is really inspiring, and I think I want to hear a little bit more about how that pans out in action. Could you speak to any, could you maybe describe a scenario or a situation where a mentor met with a mentee or vice versa, and how that played out in situ?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short and sweet. There were two young professional entrepreneurs that were looking for mentorship from us. They wanted to get into the fashion industry. I'd argue maybe closer to luxury fashion industry, and they both were engineers. One an architect and another an electrical engineer. If we were to use the old model, what I would do is have them pick up a bunch of used textbooks from university stores, bone up on their business skills, better understand the business planning process and methodology, opportunity spotting and validation, and then go through the opportunity spotting process, and then come back and see how it is that we can mentor them to actually go through with execution. However, we found that that model was not flexible enough. They were ready to go despite not having a business background or a bachelor's degree in business. They had enough of a knowledge of the industry, protocols, best practices, methodologies. They knew enough about the materials, the manufacturers, the norms, that if they were to start just kind of filling in a business plan, they would have filled in quite a bit of it, frankly, of the informative side at least, not necessarily the analytical side. And so it was more important for us to go through a dialogue where we help them understand what they're missing, and rather than focus or have them focus only on filling those gaps, to move forward with actually planning and analysis while filling the gaps at the same time. That better matched what their where they were in their journey than if we were to kind of push them off and say, you're not ready yet, frankly. And so that model really was far more robust and flexible for them. And as we've moved forward, we've had to go back several times as well, back to listen, back to understand, back to discuss. Where the old model, it's like once you start executing, you're now focusing more on execution than you are on their understanding or the discussion. So it was just an outdated model. We wanted to improve it, and we felt that a dyadic approach was probably a better one.
Thank you so much. I like that. Actually, it seems like it makes a lot more sense for where they were in their journey, and without having to maybe even not waste, but spend a lot of time up front on things that would maybe not have been useful to them.